Back in June of 2022, Sega dropped Sonic Origins, a compilation of 4 classic Sonic games fully remade in widescreen with added enhancements and bonus content. Back when this compilation came out, I made a video detailing my thoughts on the collection, and now, 1 year later, Sega has released Sonic Origins Plus, a $10 DLC pack for Sonic Origins that adds some new games and some new content. In my video last year, I stated that Origins was, in my opinion, the best official way to play the classic 2D Sonic games. However, as a collection and a celebration of Sonic's history, it felt a bit lacking and didn't quite hit the marks that I had hoped for. So now, this new DLC aims to add some new content that might change that opinion, albeit at a cost. So, is Sonic Origins Plus worth picking up? Does the new content warrant its price tag? Let's find out. So before we get into the new content for the DLC, Sega has rolled out some updates to the base Sonic Origins game that I mentioned in my original video that are worth highlighting. The drop dash in Sonic 1 and 2 doesn't have the roll lock anymore, so it feels a lot better than it did at launch, which is really great to see. The annoying Tails jumping glitch was patched, the mislabeled songs in the sound test were patched. It's good to see a lot of the complaints that I had at launch got fixed, and it has definitely made Origins better. This most recent 2.0 patch also added an option for custom controller mapping, which is great for accessibility, and while I obviously would have loved to have this here at launch, better late than never. It is good to see Sega address some of the flaws of this collection at launch, although there are a lot of nitpicks that I had that unfortunately weren't addressed, like the inferior soundtrack in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the lack of ability to toggle aspects like filters, lives, the aspect ratio, mechanics like the spin dash in Sonic 1's classic mode, the flashing when Sonic uses hypersonic, etc. I really like Sonic Origins as a collection of these classic games remade in a new, fresh way, but I feel like it misses the mark in its customization features. These remakes pose the perfect opportunity to let players customize the visual and mechanical options to their liking, but they don't capitalize on that, and that is really disappointing. Hopefully we can get this content in an update in the future, but I'm not holding my breath. But that's enough about the updates. What about the new content that's been added with Sonic Origins Plus? Personally, the #1 selling point of this DLC for me was the addition of Amy Rose into the roster, playable in each of these games for the first time ever. Amy didn't make her debut as a playable character in a 2D Sonic game until Sonic Advance, so her moveset is entirely new and unique to these games, which is a super cool selling point. Amy's moveset revolves around her hammer. While in the air, you can press the jump button to spin Amy's hammer around her, extending your hitbox kind of similar to the insta-shield from Sonic 3. This allows you to kill some enemies that a simple jump wouldn't reach, but it doesn't give you full invincibility like the insta-shield did. So this does give you the ability to kill some enemies Sonic can't kill, like the Asterons in Metropolis Zone. However, don't go around thinking you're bulletproof because you're still very vulnerable. This move only extends your hitbox a bit. That's not all though. If you hold the jump button in midair, you can perform a sort of drop dash that will propel you forward. If you continue to hold the jump button after you've hit the ground, Amy will swing her hammer and you'll be able to kill anything in her path. When you're swinging your hammer, you can also turn super quickly, so if you need to change direction fast, this can be super useful. This moveset appears to be straight out of Sonic Superstars, which doesn't bother me at all because it helps to give Amy some continuity as a character in the 2D platformers, but I'm sorry, Amy is my least favorite character to play as in Origins. I completed every game in Sonic Origins with her, and her playstyle just doesn't really do it for me. Her moveset just feels very plain, and in Sonic 3, she's especially boring to play as because she can't get the insta-shield or use elemental shields. Her moveset feels like it's missing something, some move that would be unique to her that you can't really get with any other character, and to me, I think there's a pretty simple solution. Give her the double jump that she has in the upcoming Sonic Superstars. A double jump would have made her more versatile, more unique from the rest of the cast, and quite frankly, more fun to play as. I know that this would make her way better too, but I honestly don't even think she'd be overpowered or anything. Exploring the levels with a double jump probably would feel really good for newcomers, but wouldn't feel inauthentic. I think this would have done wonders to make Amy stand out amongst the cast because, to be honest, her integration in Sonic Origins is sadly disappointing. Her sprite is really well done. I feel like you could easily convince somebody that she's always been there because she fits in so well with the rest of the cast, and when you get your hyper form in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you can even press the X button to throw throw hammers, which is a cool nod, but I just wish she had more of her own identity, a unique set of moves that was uniquely hers that would stick out in my mind as to why you'd want to play as Amy over Sonic or Tails or Knuckles. But sadly, I doubt I'm going to be replaying these games over and over again as Amy. Speaking of playable characters, Knuckles is finally playable in Sonic CD, baby! Yeah, so originally in Sonic Origins, he wasn't playable for some reason, but it seems like Sega was finally able to get him running in Sonic CD, and it's Sonic CD, but with Knuckles. His gliding and climbing abilities do work pretty well with this game's very vertical level design, and they even added a few Knuckles exclusive routes into some of these stages, which is pretty cool, but that's really all I have to say. He's here now, better late than never I suppose. However, he's locked behind Origins Plus, which really doesn't feel right to me. He really should have been playable in CD at launch, and now charging extra for him a year later just feels unfair. And really, that's the most that was changed with the core games in the collection. Amy is a neat addition, and I'm glad to have Knuckles in Sonic CD now, but I just don't feel like these additions really do it for me. If Amy had a more unique playstyle that felt like a fresh, new way to play these classic games, then I probably would have been a lot more enthusiastic about her addition. But sadly, she just doesn't really add much incentive to revisit these games or to pick her over any other character in the roster. But hold on, Amy wasn't the only part of this DLC. Coinciding with Amy's inclusion, Sonic Origins Plus also adds every Sonic game from the Sega Game Gear to play here as well, which adds 12 new games to play. The addition of these is pretty cool. These games have been re-released a few times, like in the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure and in Sonic Gems collection, but it's nice to have them in a new, modern collection that's easily accessible. The Game Gear games are more of a mixed bag for me personally. You've got games on here that I genuinely do think are interesting, like Sonic Triple Trouble. You've got some games that were pretty decent, hardware and screen crunch considered, like Sonic 1, and then you've got games like Sonic Blast, which, get that off the screen. Who likes this? Who likes this? If you're somebody who's super nostalgic for the Game Gear, this will likely scratch the itch that you've had to play these games again. The emulation is, from what I can tell, pretty good, although the audio can sound a bit blown out. So if you like the Game Gear, this is a great option to play these games again. With that being said though, why were the Game Gear versions of these games ported over for Sonic Origins? 6 out of the 12 games here, half of the selection, have a version on either the Sega Master System or even the Sega Genesis that are better experiences than their Game Gear counterparts. Why not port these versions over to Sonic Origins? It would have been so much better to be able to play Sonic 2 on the Master System version without all the screen crunch, rather than being stuck with the Game Gear version. These Master System versions also have gotten way fewer re-releases. This could have been easily the definitive way to play each of these games, but sadly I don't feel that's the case here. Now to reiterate, if you are a big fan of the Game Gear games and want a convenient official place to play them, this is exactly that, and I'm sure you'll be satisfied with your purchase. But if you're like me and you're not very attached to the Game Gear games and want to be able to play the best versions of each of these games, I do think that the offerings here will leave you wanting more. And really, that's pretty much everything that Sonic Origins Plus includes. There's a little birthday illustration that you can unlock by getting some achievements in the games, and it's a really cute illustration, but that's all it is. And if you buy the DLC, you get all of the previous additional DLC that was available at launch, like the Premium Fun Pack and the Classic Music Pack, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But I gotta be honest, at $10 additional, I just don't think that I can recommend this DLC if you already own Sonic Origins. To me, there's just so much more that could have been done to make Origins Plus the definitive add-on that fixed a lot of critiques with the original collection while expanding what it did best. It's great to have Amy here, but why didn't we get any new missions with her? The mission mode was my favorite bit of content that Origins has over every other Sonic compilation, and with the advent of a new character getting added, that feels like the perfect opportunity to expand on that with new missions, but they just aren't here. The content that has been added is cool and all, but I personally just don't think that Origins Plus has enough meat on its bones to justify charging that additional money. Now, if you don't own Sonic Origins and are sold on the collection as a whole, my recommendation would be to pick up Origins Plus, whether physically or digitally, since it is currently going for the same price as the base game was last year, but it includes all of that additional content in one package, which I do think is worth its asking price. Sonic Origins Plus is a good collection. It's really nice having these new enhanced versions of the Genesis Sonic games in widescreen with never-before-seen enhancements, and I do still maintain that this is the best official way to play these games. However, while Sonic Origins Plus is a good collection, it really could have been the definitive collection. There are little nitpicky things that could have easily been so much better, so many little additions that could have made this compilation the ultimate place to experience Sonic's history, but unfortunately, Origins Plus doesn't quite hit those marks. I've enjoyed my time with Sonic Origins, and this is a great place to experience the classic Sonic games, but sadly this DLC didn't turn Origins into the definitive experience that I had really hoped that it would. And still no Sonic 4, Sega? What the f-